100preneur. Boost your entrepreneurial success. Fuel your entrepreneurial fire. Daily growth hacks and strategies are just a 100xpreneur episode away.
Hello everyone and welcome to 100x Profit Entrepreneurs. Here we speak about entrepreneurship, we find the best practice, and then we speak with amazing entrepreneurs around the world. Today we are with Jeremy Torisk, and he is the CEO of Coaching Done Better, and he's an international speaker and a motivator. So thank you very much, Jeremy, to be here today with us in this amazing podcast.
It is amazing. It's great that we can be together through these technology today, people all over the world connecting and sharing these views and sharing their passions like this. So thank you for inviting me onto the show.
You're welcome. I have one question for everyone that is listening or watching us. What is the purpose and your unique value proposition that you are giving with these amazing talks, with this amazing program, with the amazing platform that you have created for coaches?
Well, one of the things that separates me from most people is that I spent 30 years in an industry, really starting from the very, very bottom. Literally, I was homeless, digging ditches, spent 30 years in that industry, in the construction industry, and I sold that business for a couple of $1 million just 30 years later. So overnight success, 30 years in the making, which allowed me to do something unique. It allowed me to reinvent myself and help people in a way where I could be totally altruistic. I don't need any income from anything that I ever help anyone for, which turns the sales strategy on its head, because I'm going to be, my offer is to serve you and fix your problem. And it's done in a way that I don't need you to say yes. Now, do I charge money? Of course I do, because that's the value of something. If you give something away, the value is zero. So I charge a fair value, because somebody has to appreciate my service, but I do it in a way that's truly for you. I am sharing my wisdom, I'm sharing my failures, I'm sharing my successes, so you can shortcut everything that I failed, all the things that I've learned the very, very hard and expensive way, and so you could get there faster. So that's kind of the difference, is that I actually did the things that I'm teaching, and a lot of people, they just say they do, but they didn't.
And sometimes, Jeremy, I see that there are so many people that they say, oh my God, I see the movie, or I watch the movie of love, the law of attraction, and then I want to be millionaire tomorrow. But you say, no, it was a career of 30 years. I have to develop, to set up everything. And I think that this is something like very important, because today in social media, we see like so many content that you can be like millionaire in only few minutes. Sure. And this is not something that is working, because at the end you need the fundamentals, you need the structure, you need to have this value proposition, you need to understand your avatar, no? And it's a process that you say, okay, I spend a lot of time doing that.
And I lost a lot of money. I've been bankrupt. I have lost jobs. I've had to take jobs after making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year as a phone answerer in a call center for $45,000 a year. So those humble lessons, they're very valuable. And so if you don't want to experience that, so anyone could get rich fast, and especially today, never easier. The trick is how to stay rich, and then the also trick is to become wealthy, because there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. So I'm working on the wealthy part now, but I'm sharing a wealth of knowledge and experience, and that's got the value that I found the hard way too, by the way, is a lot of people don't understand how to charge for their value. I had imposter syndrome for a long time. I felt bad for people. I felt bad for myself for having, 8 figures in my bank account. I didn't understand that as a new feeling for me. So I was giving away so much stuff, and everything I gave away, nothing came back, because they didn't appreciate it. I took my value to zero when I did that. So I heard a few words one day, and it was excellence never goes on sale. And so I see these people 20% off, 30% off, I don't do that. I don't have sales. I have the price that I set. The price is the price, because the standard is the standard. And I'm going to give you 10 times. You got 100x premium. I'm still at 10x, all right? Because I'm in South Florida next to Grant Cardone. So I got the 10x mentality. But if I sell you something for $1,000, I'm going to make sure that you get $10,000 of value.
And this is something like very important, because at the end, if we don't give value to our customers, if we don't give value in our conference and with our coaching, at the end, we are like Speaking, but this is not making engagement and is not transforming people's life.
It's not having an impact, that's for sure.
So in that part, if we speak about these so many challenges that you had in your career, and then what was the one that was the hardest to overcome? What did you do to overcome that? What did you change in your mind to say, okay, now I was like 8 figures number or 8 figures in my account, and then now I'm 0, and now I have to work in this employee, and then I run again my project, and it's running like very well.
Well, sir, and it was not, it was 6 figures to not 0, but negative 6 figures, which is a lot worse than having 0. All right. I used to see homeless people in the street, and I think they've got $400,000 more than me because they had 0 and I owed $400,000. You know, so it's worse than that. And it happened overnight, literally. Imagine you're working 20 years at something, 20 years hard. And I came up the hard way. And imagine it's almost Christmas, December 9th, 2009. And imagine you're driving to the job site just like every morning, and it's a new home construction, and you normally see vans and trucks, and you hear saws, and you hear people talking and hear hammering, and your crews are supposed to be there setting up. And I get there, and it's a ghost town. Like, my crews are there working, but there's no hammers, there's no plumbers, there's no roofers, there's nothing. And so I go to the sales center, and they're packing everything up. And I said, "What happened?" And they said, "It's 2009, right? They went under. Nobody's buying houses. The banking system collapsed." So I had, at that point, I was negative $250,000 worth of investing in my company. Plus, I had a house that I owed a couple $100,000 on. I had 11 employees, 5 vehicles, trucks, tools, rigs, and I had 6 projects that all finished the same week they shut down. So I had $100,000 worth of invoices that nobody felt like they needed to pay me anymore because they weren't going to get paid. And so I was the lowest man on the pole, right? And so really overnight, I went from 6 figures to 0, and then I owed all that money, and there was no coming back. I thought maybe they kept telling, remember COVID, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. You didn't have that in 2009. It was just find something better. So I paid everyone for a few weeks, started selling things, finally had to go bankrupt, let those people go. And I literally had to take a job answering phones just to get health insurance for my sons. So that was humbling. I still stayed in the telecommunication business because I was selling Comcast, and that's who I was building all this fiber optics for, was for Comcast. But that took, again, it wasn't like, okay, I got a job now, I'm making bills. No, my paycheck was $800 a week. My child support was $2,000 a month. My mortgage was $3,000 a month. So it wasn't, I was still so negative, but I said, I'm going to learn everything. Why did I fail? I kind of looked at that. I didn't know sales. I didn't really understand money, or I wouldn't have been that leveraged. I didn't understand about relationships, or else I would have maybe got a phone call. I didn't understand marketing. There's so many things. I just understood operations, the muscle, get it done. And so that next 3 years, building those skills took a long time, 3 years. But that was the difference.
And what can you say that it was like the thing that helped you to overcome this situation? Because you say, I need like 3 years in order to move from this breakout situation that I was until the point that I say, okay, now I start to run my business and to be wealthy. So what is the lesson that you learned in that part that we can say, okay, how do you fit these entrepreneurial goals with this personal wealth doing and with your life and your mind to say, okay, now I'm going to establish everything, and these 3 years, there are so many learnings that I can share with everyone. So how was this process?
And it's not like I went to college and signed up for a 3-year course. I had no idea how long. It might have been the rest of my life doing that. However, to answer your question is, everybody you're born with a victim mentality. You're born to protect yourself. You're born to see the negative. I was born even worse because my parents were very poor parents, right? They're very irresponsible. So I had a lot of bad things happen in my life when I was a child. So when I was 20 years old, digging the ditches and homeless, when I started seeing success in my career all the way up to 20 years later, where I was running my own business, look at a mountain, right? I was on top of the mountain that I thought, but really, you know, that mountain was 20. I was what, 40 years old by then. So I'd been there for 20 years climbing that mountain, and I thought I was at the top. When everything just fell down, the mountain just had a big earthquake, right? And avalanche. But what happens when you try to do something for a second time if you've done it one time? It's always easier, right? So I knew I had some success. I knew that I had a lot of skill. I knew that I had vision. I saw myself better than this. And I saw this opportunity to get better at these other things because I didn't lose my business because anything I did. I lost my business because of things that I didn't do. So let's go do that, right? If everybody in the country is out of work, well, then let's see who gets back to work first. Now that's the race. So that's not victim mentality. That's supernatural. And I have the gift of having supernatural vision, supernatural confidence. And believe me, that was non-existent when I was a kid. It's not natural. You have to do that every day. You have to take these things and go, no, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not a victim. This is happening for me. That's supernatural. So those 3 years, man, I'll tell you, the first day I got really acknowledged for some things that I was doing that no one else was doing because I didn't know what I was doing, but they all were doing the same thing for so many years. I saw it different, right? So they put me in charge of this little group, and I grew that group very fast. Within 8 months, I was a director over on the executive side. They're giving me these sales teams. I'm learning marketing, and all these skills are just coming, but I was working 20 hours a day. Like, I don't sleep. Literally, I was there from opening until close, sun up, sun down, way sun, like 11 o'clock at night, right, for calling the West Coast. And then they started sending me to Jamaica to open call centers and doing all this stuff. Over time, these things were like, yes, this is actually cool. But I still wanted to get back to the construction side because the sales side, the marketing side, all those things that I had now, they weren't giving me passion. What gave me passion was getting dirty, putting large groups of people to work and building plant. But when I came out of that experience 3 years later, I took 3 different companies over the next 10 years from $2 million a year to $60 million a year. And I did that every year for 10 years, $60 million. So that's almost $1 billion worth of revenue that I did in my last 10 years because I had all those extra tools.
And this is something like is very important in this journey because at the end you say, okay, I need to know what I did wrong so I can change what are the learnings, what are the tools that I have not implementing my business. And I had one experience similar, Jeremy, because when I broke my company, I had to close the company because it was a situation that the government changed the law, so we didn't can continue the operation. And for me, well, it was like very hard at that moment because I had like 80 people working with me doing conference every week, and 1 week later I was in my house without any job, any income. And one thing that for me was like very difficult in this process, it was, okay, Agustin, you have to find out one program to go out to sell, and the process to sell the program, the training, the course, and to achieve the people say, okay, now I have this training about public speaking or about personal growth, or about whatever I was creating. It was for me one of the harder things because it was, okay, I have to set up everything in order to sell. But if you don't sell, you don't have the time or you don't have all the energy. So this is something like very important, like you say, no, okay, you have to understand what failed so we can implement something, work, and then, as you say, in the last 10 years, I have made more money than like in all my life, and doing like with this good strategy. So in that part, you are now launching a new program for speakers, and you are doing this amazing program to help people to overcome on the stage. Can you speak more about this program that you are running this week?
Sure. So this tomorrow actually kicks off something I call Speaking Done Better, because they just kind of give everything a done better tagline there. But it's about getting paid to speak. Everyone has the opportunity, if they want to achieve leadership, they have to learn how to speak and present. So those are 2 different skills. And what we're trying to figure out here for folks is to say, I'm a leader, so I need presentation skills help, and that's fine. And we help people with that a lot. But if you want to take that skill and go to stage, if you've got a real problem to solve that you can help change, have impact in people's life, and then create a larger crowd or larger audience, because that's what we all want to do today in the social market world, is bring more people into your tent. And sometimes you have to go to where they are. So if my audience is business owners, which for the most part they are, small and medium business owners, because when I told you I took those 3 companies from $2 million to $60 million, it's because I learned how to take those other skills and go get better clients, right? The marketing of the company and the relationships and the selling, the real selling is done. You don't have to sell a hammer. You got to sell yourself. And so we started getting contracts with AT&T and Facebook and T-Mobile and, all these super duper companies. And we were beating companies that had 10,000 employees and $15 billion worth of revenue. We had 27 employees. And I was an employee, by the way. I was just a person, but I had, in my mind, I was an owner, right? Now I was a vice president and they gave me ownership equity, but it didn't matter if I was still digging that ditch back then. I still owned me. I still owned my operation. So I always had an ownership mentality. So I learned through it when I came back how to get big contracts from big companies and steal it, even though I was little. So my crowd are business owners. So our business owners sitting here on LinkedIn, our business owners watching YouTube, not really. So I needed to go to them. So I learned to take those presentation skills and my message, get on a stage and be where they are at conventions and seminars where they want to learn. Now they're sitting in a chair, they want to learn. And that when I tell them and share my message about how I beat my Goliaths, how I take mammoth markets and overcome that, afterwards, they're calling me, right? Come to me, show my people what you're doing. So when you learn about that little trick, the people will actually pay you very good money, by the way, to be on a stage and talk to your ideal client. Why would you just sit at home and talk to a screen and hope they see you? Go get paid to be in front of them. And so my program teaches just that. I use a book. It's called Pay to Speak. I didn't write this book. Dr. Kevin Schneider wrote this book. He's a friend of mine, but it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 modules, 5 modules. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. All I did was take this and I bring people together, 10 people. We have a mastermind, a true mastermind, where we go, module 1, let's talk about it tonight. And then we all talk about it. And then we all help each other. Something is called dialectic happens. I have a dialogue, you have a dialogue. When both of us have this thing, a third thing comes from it. So when you have 10 people doing that, oh, I heard this, I see this, what I think is this, what moved me was that. So we all could take our message and sharpen it. Module 1, what's our problem? Module 2, how do we take that problem and articulate? Module 3, where do we find our clients? All right, module 4, how do we go find out and get people to pay? How much do we charge? What are the contracts? And then module 5, the presentation, really literally getting up on stage. Where do you move? Where do you hold the mic? How do you get referrals? How do you get repeat business? Module 6, week 6, we actually get together and do a rehearsal. Week 7, they actually come down here to South Florida. I have a studio here, a real studio, man. I do lots of cool stuff. I've got, lots of cool green screens and podcast rooms. I bring people together and actually record them on a green screen and put them in front of a fake stage so that they can show other event planners, hey, I've done this before, even though you might not have. But that's how they get hired. So I help people get paid to speak.
And I think that this is very important because there are so many people that have a very valuable message to share with the world, to inspire people, to inspire their own team.
Yep.
But at the end, as you say, I can be the best business owner. I'm very successful, and then I don't communicate as well as I'm doing the money. So in that part, if we say, okay, now you are with this amazing group of owners that they are learning new skills to develop, and then say, okay, Jeremy, I was doing like few conferences last year, and I love this, but I want to become like a pro. I want now to like switch
Yeah.
my company to a CEO or delegate some of the responsibilities so I will have more time in order to be in larger audiences. I can travel around the world with my family so I can be a speaker. How we
Yes.
pass from this part from being like 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 conference per year to this career of a keynote speaker and very well paid.
Yeah, workshops and everything. So what, and it's all about, for me, it's about immersion, which is a lot of places take this, and this is a 6-month program, but I do it in 6 weeks. So I have the best speakers from all around the country. So most of this stuff is on Zoom. Out of our 7 weeks, I think 4 of the weeks I have the speakers in here. So the audience members are the 10 people are invited to come in here. We have a boardroom over here, or we just pump people in because they don't all live in South Florida. So we bring people on Zoom. You could do all 7 weeks on Zoom. You just can't be here to record unless you fly in. But the 6 weeks, we can work out with you on that. So I bring in the best speakers every week, and for every module, I bring in a specialist who's doing this full time, 10, 15, 20,000 per speech. Different person each week will be on here with us, right? So, and I always rewrite my stuff all the time because, you know, I'm ADHD, right? I get bored. I don't like hearing the same stories all the time. So this is like my 4th different program. And so this particular program that I'm doing, this one starting tomorrow, I'm rewriting my whole speech because I'm going to have these 10 people with me and these specialists. So why not take advantage and leverage that time and start another program so I can go out there and be more energized? You know, and a lot of people, they have that signature series, a signature speech. That's fine. You don't have to change that, but you got to change maybe where the target is. If you're not getting it, how are you finding them? And that's the great thing about this program. Not only do we teach you about you, we teach you where to find them. Physically give you access to a database where you look up people who are having events, figure out how much they're paying for speakers. That gives you their name, their phone number, their address, their email. And then we teach them how to do a campaign, to do the outreach. And then we teach you how to do the follow-up. And you have access to that. Plus you have access to me because I do a weekly open office hours call on my other platform just for helping speakers once a week. Come on, ask me anything. You know, and we just have an open office hour. So that's where that 10,000 of value. My program costs 1,000. You get a year on the platform. You get a year of coaching from me. You get 6 weeks of these masterminds where you're going to make relations with them. You get to learn from the book for the 6 weeks. And if you come to South Florida, you get about a $3,000 10-minute reel for free. So there's a lot of bonuses in that.
And this is something like very important because, as you say, it's not only the speaking part or the skills, it's all the process, all the systems that they are behind, no? Because you can have all the amazing tools and then you say, oh my God, where I can tell or where are my audience or how I can reach them or how I can do the following up. So in that part, Jeremy, what changed in your life from the point of view when you start the career and doing the first conference 30 years ago to right now? What was like the highest change in your life from say, oh my God, I saw my picture or my video doing my conference and I was doing that, but now I'm doing that.
Yeah. But remember, I was 30 years ago digging ditches and I spent 30 years doing construction. When I sold that company, that was just 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago, I decided I want to speak. So I've only been speaking for 2 years. So that picture that you're talking about and that speech, the first speech I did was for the Florida Real Estate Association. And it was called Think Like a CEO. And it was called the 12 Elements of Business. And I talked about if you're a real estate owner or agent, you're your own, you're not an agent, you're an owner. And if you're just going out there going, hey, I'm networking, well, then you need to better know how to negotiate because you're a real master negotiator. You know, and then it's like, well, do you know about money, how money works, finance? Do you know about training? How much are you training? Do you know about relationships? And those 12 businesses, whether you're doing a construction company or a real estate agent, same 12 elements. So a lot of that, that's one of my programs. Remember, this is my 4th program I'm making. One of them was that, then I got tired of doing that. You know, and I get tired fast, right? It's only been 2 years. So every 6 months, I kind of switch it up, right? One of them is on, look, I have a lot of suicide experience. I had lost 2 brothers to suicide. I had a lot of alcoholism and drug addiction in my family, being homeless from a young age, basically by choice from 17 to 20. I understand mentality. So I have that supernatural speech. So sometimes I go speak to people just about mentality, just about inspiration stuff, not business owners, but people who need to just walk out of there feeling better about themselves. So I have all these different things I speak about, but it's been 2 years. And what happens is when I get a lead, I learned how to ask better questions. So who's going to be there? What's the number one thing that you want your audience to take away from? What's your budget, right? Where is it at? How long do you need to have it? What's the theme? That right there will tell you a lot, right? When they say, oh, the theme is, we're saluting the military. Well, right now, I know anyone who's going to go to that is going to have that different attitude than somebody. What's the theme? The theme is, I don't know, Flintstones. I don't know, whatever the stupid theme is, because all these seminars have themes sometimes, right? Well, that's now a fun, playful crowd. You don't want to talk about suicide on that crowd, right? But on the military, maybe you do, because there might be a lot of veterans there, and a lot of veterans are suicidal. So you might want to put something in there. So you've got all these things. What I teach is to have these files, and no matter what stage I'm on, bam, I go to this file. Here's my story. Here's the lesson. Here's what's the impact. And so that's what we teach, to how to kind of create this stuff. And also take those me stories. Remember when we started? I didn't say, I drove onto a job site. I saw my guys just standing there. I didn't see anyone. I said, imagine you drove onto a site. Imagine you used to seeing things. Imagine you you saw your crews and no one else was there. You were seeing the story much different than if I would have said, here's what happened to me. No, I said, imagine if you experienced this. So it's those little things. It's all psychological, but that implements the difference between a standing ovation and somebody reading their phone the whole time you're speaking. That's a big difference.
And this is something like very important, because sometimes it's not only the content that you say, it's like the feelings that you implement in the history, that and
100%.
one thing that you say like is very interesting. There are people that they must need the same speech for the next 20 years, and they are like happy with that, no?
Yeah.
And we are the other kind of people, no? For example, the first time that I started to create my first training in 2009, it was like very interesting, because I created the training, and then 1 year later, it was other training, because I love to change things, to say, okay, I'm going to delete this, I'm going to implement the other new tool. And this is something like is growing our business, no? Or is growing our pitches, because at the end, it's not doing the same for the last 20 years. It's not that you are moving and you are creating and making this evolution of this pitch. So at the end, you make more engagement.
Right.
And you can have,
But
okay,
the
I have
trick is
this
to get really good
experience.
at it before you switch. Don't switch too soon. Some people switch too soon before they get good, and then they just end up being medium speakers. But if you get really good at a speech, usually it's 3-4 months before you're there, right? So you go, hey, who's the audience? Well, this speech won't do, but I'm really good at it, but I can change it a little bit. Then you change it a little bit, but you get good at it before you change it again, right? So to your point, now when you run into somebody that needs that first program, you've got it. Boom, here, bam. You've got it. You're more well-rounded.
And in that part, Jeremy, if you have the opportunity to speak with yourself like 5 years ago and say, okay, Jeremy, I'm going to give you this advice, I'm going to share with you this lesson that is going to change your life forever, what will be this a special message that you will share with you in this phone call?
Well, kind of, I have that conversation with me all the time. So I always I have a conversation with my future self. So I look at me as if I'm 5 years down the road, and I look at me and I said, don't make this decision now, because you're going to mess me up, right? If you do this, you're going to make me pay for this mistake 5 years from now, 3 years from now, next week. So everything that I'm doing right now am I doing it because I know that it's going to benefit me 5 years from now, or the people in my life? Or is it because I'm being selfish and I want to reward myself, which is okay, but not on big things? Or am I doing something because I'm bored and I have something that I don't like to do, but I have to do it? So then we go, okay, well, let's get somebody else to do it because it has to get done. Or am I doing something because I'm just off my medication, right? Like I haven't taken my ADHD medication, and I normally wouldn't do this. This is not this is not going to get me where I want to be. It's just something I'm doing because I'm in a cycle. So I have those conversations with myself on a daily basis. And that's because I've already been through such hard things that when I didn't do that back then, all those short things, like not learning about all those things when I was a super operator, when that company failed, I hurt my family. You know, I hurt the people that worked for me. So if I had 11 employees plus my family, that's about 150 people that I hurt, you know, besides me. And I just promised I wouldn't do it again. So when I started learning these new things and humbling myself and then putting myself around the right people, these conversations happened. And so I kind of have those conversations with my future self. I've had those for the last 10 years.
And this is something like very interesting because sometimes people, they say, okay, I'm going to have the conversation, but with myself 10 years ago. So I say, oh, you know, you are going to fail this and this was not working. And I was in a better position before than now. And I think that this chain of paradigm to say, okay, I'm going to speak with myself in the future, say, okay, I cannot make the same mistakes that earlier because there are 150 people or there are 200 people that they are inside my structure because they are the direct family from my cooperators or the employees that I have. So in that part, if we say, okay, the message that you have with yourself in 5 years is like very important in order to keep this motivation, in order to know about what you are doing and then the impact that you are going to get. And if we have one person that say, okay, now I'm just creating my company, I will like to be in front of the audience, but I have not sell any conference. What will be the framework in order to say, okay, like step 1, 2, 3, in order to achieve at least the first customer that so they have the testimonial they can share in their social media?
First thing you need to do is understand what problem that you're solving. So, you know, if you're just going out there with, I just want to be on stage because I want to feed my ego, that's not going to work. You know, so what problem are you solving? Can you make those, can you explain it in 10 words? You know, and can you use words that people say to themselves when they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because they're worried about a thing? You know, when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, if I was my business is struggling and I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I can't go back to sleep, I don't say, oh, I really understand. I don't understand my KPIs. You know, I need to have better margins. I don't say that. I go, how do I make more money? I'm losing money because the inflation is so high. My gas is so much money and my employees drive around so much. I've got to make it, you know, I've got to raise my prices. That's the thing. I got to raise my prices. And so now my speech isn't improve your KPIs and your margin. Watch your margin soar. No, it's, I can show you how to make more money in your company by firing the wrong customer. Right? And now they go, oh shit, I didn't think of that. Maybe I've got people that aren't paying me enough. I got to go get better customers. That's what they're thinking to themselves in the middle of the night. So we teach people how to articulate the problem they're solving. And then the second mistake people make is they try to solve problems that they only know because they watched it on YouTube. They haven't experienced it. And if you haven't experienced it, no matter what stage you're on, you're not authentic. You're not going to be able to share with this. You have to share with this. And so we teach you, what problems have you been through? How did you overcome it? Let's get that into a story sell, story point. And okay, now we're going to shrink it down because you're using too many words that people don't use in reality. And now we go looking to find the event planners. Now we figure out how much you can charge. Now we figure out where you can go locally to speak for free so you can get some video of yourself and you can get some testimonials, to your point, because that's not free. That's valuable to you. That's worth a lot of money. Someone wants to say, hey, I want to pay you $500 to come speak to my group. And I go, I don't need the $500. Can I pay that $500? Can you pay a guy to be there to videotape me professionally? Because I need a professional videotape. You know, that's worth more to me. So there's tricks like that we teach people. And then also, if you want to transfer from what you're doing to full-time speaker, you better have a budget. You better understand do you have 6 months worth of living? Because it's going to take 6 months before you get your first paycheck. Now you get a half deposit if I sign you a contract for the next 3 months, which I pretty much guarantee if you follow the system, you'll get a contract and they pay half of it up front. But if you don't go, if you screw up, you got to pay it back. So, you know, we talk about some business stuff, life stuff. What's your budget? How much in debt are you? Maybe this isn't something, it's a 3-month plan. Maybe it's a 2-year plan, So we help kind of that obvious business life balance into integration thing.
Imagine, Jeremy, when I was living in Barcelona, I moved from Europe and say, okay, I need these testimonials that I'm doing the international conference. And then it was the moment that I was like bankrupt in my father's house. So I say, okay, I'm going to meet one organization that I'm a member in Barcelona, and I'm going to call them and say, I'm going to visit you. You only have to pay me the ticket flight and 1 night hotel, and I will do the conference for free. And that was like very interesting because in few months I was traveling around all
incredible.
like almost 10 cities in different countries in Europe, and it was like very all the portfolio that I had. Okay, this is my pictures. I'm here. This is the certificate that I was doing, and after that I start to show on the companies and large companies. I say, okay, we want now that you are the speaker. So sometimes, as you say, no, it's not a career that you say, okay, I'm going to be a speaker, and today you have like 5 conference paid, but you can create the strategy. And one thing that for me was like very helpful in that process, I didn't like to send the emails, but I like to conquer the world, like the risk game, board game. So I start to say, okay, what are the cities that I have not visited right now? And then as soon as I achieve the conference in that city, I bought the small souvenir. So I have one shelf in my house, like with all the places that I have done this conference for the last 20 years.
My wife has the Christmas tree ornaments because I take my wife. I traveled for 10 years without my wife working on the fiber optic stuff. Now, when I book a speech in Cancun, Mexico, or New York City or California, I have so many points for over the years that I bring my wife. The hotel's paid for, the car's paid for. The only thing I'm paying for is the ticket on the airplane, and normally I have points for that. So I bring my wife, and every city we go to, she makes sure to get a Christmas ornament. It's for the tree. So that's where our stuff is.
Nice. So, Jeremy, where we can find you? Where are your social media? Do you have any live program? Share with us, please.
Sure. So, coaching done better. That's really where I get most of my, I put most of my attention right here. This is coaching done better. Build any skill anytime with expert coaches. This is a platform that I've built. It's free to join. If you go to coachingdonebetter.com, coachingdonebetter.com, you can create an account for absolutely free. Go to my profile. My schedule is there. Put yourself right on my schedule. Let's talk. If you're looking to get better in your mind, body, or business, it's going to be on there. There's going to be a coach for you. Then you'll talk to those coaches, and you'll come up with a price for them to train you or coach you. If you're a coach and you want to be on this platform, then you choose I am a coach. It's $97 a month. That's it. What I do is I take that money from you and all the other coaches, and I hired a very expert company to do email campaigns and paid search campaign. And I use your keywords and your expertise, and I drive traffic to you. So that's kind of the whole point of this platform, is to give back to coaches and to give back to the people who want to get better. And I actually do live streaming every day, Monday through Thursday at 2:30. That's Eastern, 2:30, 30 minutes. Right, it's on the platform, but right now it's everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, which they call X now, LinkedIn, YouTube. Every day, go to one of those. My last name is easy, Torisk. There's only one of me. Jeremy Torisk is, if you knew it phonetically, Torisk. But you risk nothing when you work with me, right? That might help you remember. But yeah, that's it, man. And I've got a book called Labor to Leadership, and I'm a trained professional in the sales funnel, the original success secrets of the sales funnel. So if you want me to talk to your group about improving sales, closing rates, that's something that I do. You want it nice, easy, pretty good read, a little depressing sometimes, but also feel good at the end on Labor to Leadership. That's a bit of a story about my life. So yeah, you can reach me almost anywhere.
So thank you very much, Jeremy, for being with us today in 100x Entrepreneur. And we are here to inspire people to change the world and make a better place. Thank you very much.
100xpreneur. Boost your entrepreneurial success. Fuel your entrepreneurial fire. Daily growth hacks and strategies are just a 100xpreneur episode away.